Red Rock Canyon, Nevada, 10:37 p.m., a moonless night with wind howling through rock crevices. Temperature at 45 degrees Fahrenheit, the desert biting cold, flashlight beams flickering across red stone cliffs. The wind screamed through Red Rock Canyon, like a banshee, carrying a chill that sliced through flesh. Ethan Voss staggered across the desert, his breath ragged, blood oozing from a gash on his shoulder, soaking his torn surgical scrubs. Each step crunched the sand, echoing in the suffocating darkness. Behind him, maybe 200 feet back, a shadow moved silent, relentless, the ferryman. That's what Ethan overheard Dominic's goons call him, and now the bastard was hunting him. Ethan didn't dare look back. His heart pounded, threatening to burst. The flashlight in his hand trembled, its feeble beams sweeping across red sandstone cliffs towering hundreds of feet, jagged as knives against the pitch-black sky. He'd been running for nearly a mile from the warehouse, but this desert was a goddamn death trap. No roads, no markers, just rocks and shadows. A sharp crack like a snapping twig rang out behind him. Ethan stumbled, nearly eating dirt. "Shit," he muttered, voice hoarse. He swung the flashlight around, but saw nothing but twisted rock silhouettes. Then he spotted it, a cave, low and narrow, barely wide enough to crawl through. No other choice. He lunged forward, scrambling through the tight entrance, sharp stones slicing his hands and knees. Inside, the cave was freezing, reeking of damp earth and something rotten. Ethan killed the flashlight, held his breath, and listened. Footsteps outside slow, deliberate stop just beyond the entrance. He pressed himself against the rock wall, heart hammering like a jackhammer. Through a tiny gap, he saw the ferryman's flashlight beam sweep past, methodical, like the bastard knew he was here. Then the light froze. Ethan felt a chill crawl down his spine, not from the cold, but from something wrong. He crouched, hand brushing the stone floor, and his fingers touched something small, round, metallic. He picked it up, squinting in the dark. A silver coin, glinting faintly, etched with a deep M. His breath caught. "Marissa," he whispered, voice breaking. The coin slipped from his fingers, clinking against the rock. The sound was deafening in the silence. Outside, the ferryman's light snapped toward the cave. Ethan's stomach lurched. He scrambled deeper, rocks tearing at his skin, as a low, guttural hum like a predator's growl showed from the entrance. The beam grew brighter, closer, and then, 4 days later, Danielle Caldwell's phone buzzed on the kitchen counter, shattering the quiet of her Henderson duplex. She froze, fork halfway to her mouth, the reheated lasagna forgotten. The clock on the microwave blinked 7:14 a.m. Who the hell called this early? She grabbed the phone, her gut twisting when she saw the name. Detective Raymond Chin, Las Vegas Metro PD. Danielle. Chin's voice was tight, like he was holding back. "You need to sit down." "What is it?" Her voice came out sharper than she meant, her fingers tightening around the phone. 4 years of dead ends had worn her patience to a nub. 4 years since her sister Marissa, 8 months pregnant, and her husband Ethan vanished in Red Rock Canyon. 4 years of search parties, flyers, and sleepless nights. "We got a hit," Chin said. "Some climbers found a backpack yesterday, half buried near Calico Hills. It's got Marissa's ID inside." 1. Danielle's knees buckled. She gripped the counter, the room spinning. "Marissa's? You sure?" Driver's license, credit card, even a grocery list with her handwriting. "I'm at the station. Can you come down?" "I'm on my way." She hung up, her hand shaking so bad she dropped the phone. It clattered on the tile, the sound jarring her back. Marissa. Her baby sister, the one who'd always baked the best damn cupcakes, who dreamed of being a mom. Gone without a trace, and now this? Danielle was 32, a bank teller who'd quit her job for 6 months to scour the desert after Marissa disappeared. She'd never stopped looking, not really, even when the cops shoved the case into a cold file. She lived alone now, her Henderson duplex, a shrine of old photos and unanswered questions. Marissa was her only family left, mom and dad killed in a car crash a decade ago. But there was something else gnawing at her, something she never told Chin. The last time she saw Marissa, they'd fought. Danielle had begged her not to go hiking, not with the baby so close. "You're being reckless," she'd snapped. Marissa just laughed it off, her eyes sparkling. "It's just a walk, Danny. Ethan's got me." Ethan. The thought of him twisted her gut. A hotshot surgeon, charming, devoted, at least, that's what everyone thought. But Danielle had always sensed something off. The way he dodged questions about his late-night meetings, the way Marissa's smile faltered when his name came up. What if he'd done something to her? She grabbed her keys, a beat-up Ford Focus waiting in the driveway. Henderson was quiet, the kind of suburban sprawl where everyone minded their own business. The October air was crisp, 55 degrees Fahrenheit, the sun barely creeping over the horizon. She drove the 12 miles to the Las Vegas metro station, her mind racing. A backpack. After 4 years, why now? The station was a hive of activity cops barking into radios, civilians filing complaints. Chin met her at the front desk, his gray suit rumpled, eyes bloodshot. He was in his late 40s, a detective who'd seen too much but still had a soft spot for Danielle's case. "You okay?" he asked, leading her to a small office cluttered with case files. "No," she said bluntly, dropping into a chair. "Show me." He slid a plastic evidence bag across the desk. Inside was a faded blue backpack, torn at the seams, caked with red dust. Danielle's breath hitched. She'd seen Marissa sling that bag over her shoulder 100 times. Chen opened it, revealing a wallet, a crumpled grocery list, milk, eggs, vanilla extract, and a driver's license with Marissa's smiling face. But there was something else, a folded scrap of paper, edges frayed, with scrawled words, "They're at the bottom." What the hell does that mean? Danielle's voice trembled, her fingers hovering over the paper. Chin leaned back, rubbing his temples. "No idea. Could be nothing. Could be everything." The climbers found it 300 feet from a trailhead, near a rockfall. "We're sending a team to check the area today." Danielle's eyes locked on the note. "They're at the bottom." The words felt like a punch to the gut. "What about Ethan? Anything of his?" "Nothing," Chin said. "Just Marissa's stuff." "Look, Danielle, I don't want to give you false hope. 4 years is a long time. But this backpack didn't just show up out of nowhere." She nodded, barely hearing him. Her mind was already elsewhere, replaying that last fight with Marissa. The way Ethan had stood in the background, silent, his jaw tight. She'd never trusted him, not fully. What if Ethan did something? She blurted. What if he hurt her? Chin's eyes narrowed. "You got a reason to think that?" She hesitated, then shook her head. "Just a feeling. He was always secretive. Marissa said he was stressed, working late, meeting people he wouldn't talk about." Chin jotted something in his notebook. "We looked at him hard back then. No evidence he was involved. But feelings matter. If you've got anything solid, tell me." Danielle didn't. Not yet. But she would. "Can I see where they found it?" Chin sighed. "Against my better judgment, yeah. Meet me at the Red Rock Visitor Center at noon. Bring water, it's a hike." The drive to Red Rock Canyon was 20 miles, the Vegas skyline fading into dusty hills. Danielle's focus rattled over the uneven road, the AC barely keeping up with the rising heat already pushing 70 degrees Fahrenheit by 11:30 a.m. The canyon loomed ahead, a maze of red cliffs and scrubby junipers, beautiful and brutal. She'd spent months out here with search parties, combing trails until her boots fell apart. Every rock, every shadow, felt like a taunt. At the visitor center, Chin waited by an unmarked cruiser, a police radio crackling on his belt. 2 rangers and a forensic tech, a wiry guy named Mike, joined them. "It's about a mile in," Mike said, slinging a gear bag over his shoulder. "Trail's rough, watch your step." The hike was grueling, the path winding through narrow gullies and loose gravel. Danielle's hiking boots crunched against the ground, sweat beading on her forehead, despite the cool air. The cliffs towered 500 feet above, casting jagged shadows. Chin stayed quiet, but she caught him glancing at her, like he was gauging how much she could handle. They reached the Spoda's small clearing near Calico Hills, marked by a fresh rockfall. Mike pointed to a shallow depression in the sand. Backpack was half buried here. Looks like the wind uncovered it after last week's storm. Danielle crouched, her fingers brushing the red dirt. It was too clean, too convenient. 4 years, and a storm just happens to reveal Marissa's bag? Bullshit. She scanned the area, her eyes catching a faint trail of disturbed sand leading toward a cluster of boulders 100 feet away. "What's over there?" she asked, pointing. Chin followed her gaze. "Nothing, we checked. Just rocks." "I'm looking." She stood, ignoring his protest, and marched toward the boulders. The trail grew clear of faint footprints, too fresh for 4 years old. Her pulse quickened. The boulders hid a narrow crevice, barely visible, leading to a cave mouth no taller than her waist. She pulled out her phone, snapping photos, the flash illuminating the dark entrance. "Danielle, hold up," Chin called, jogging over. "We don't know if it's stable." She ignored him, crouching to peer inside. The air was cold, damp, carrying that same rotten smell Ethan had choked on 4 nights ago. Her flashlight beam caught something glinting on the cave floor, a metallic glint, small and round. Her stomach dropped. "Chin," she said, voice barely a whisper. "There's something in there." Mike and the Rangers caught up, their radios crackling. "Could be nothing," Mike said, but his tone wasn't convincing. He handed Danielle a spare flashlight. "Stay behind me." They crawled in, the cave walls scraping their shoulders. 10 feet in, the beam hit it, a silver coin, etched with a deep M. Danielle's breath hitched. She reached for it, but Chin grabbed her wrist. "Don't touch it. Evidence." "Evidence of what?" she snapped, yanking her hand back. "This is Marissa's. It has to be." Chin's jaw tightened. "Or it's someone screwing with us. We need to bag it, get it to the lab." Danielle's mind raced. The coin, the note, the backpack, it was too much to be random. Someone wanted her here. Someone wanted her to find this. But why? She stepped back, letting Mike seal the coin in an evidence bag, her eyes locked on the cave's shadows. They seemed to shift, like something was watching. Back in the clearing, Chin radioed for a full forensic team. "We'll sweep the area tomorrow," he said. "Go home, Danielle. Get some rest." "Rest?" She laughed, bitter. "My sister's out here somewhere, and you want me to sleep?" "I want you alive," he said, voice hard. "This case is heating up, and that's when things get messy. Be careful." She drove back to Henderson, the coin's image burned into her mind. Her duplex felt too quiet, the hum of the fridge deafening. She poured a glass of cheap Merlot, hands still shaking, and opened her laptop. Google spit out nothing on silver coins with an M, just coin collector forums and conspiracy blogs. She was about to slam the laptop shut when her phone buzzed a text from an unknown number. "Don't dig deeper. The ferryman's watching." Her glass slipped, shattering on the floor, wine pooling like blood. She stared at the screen, heart pounding, the words glowing in the dark. Outside, a car engine rumbled, too close, then faded into the night. She ran to the window, peering through the blinds, but the street was empty. Just shadows. Just the desert, whispering its secrets. Danielle's duplex in Henderson, Nevada. A quiet suburban sprawl, the Las Vegas Metro Police Department, and a dingy coffee shop on the outskirts of Vegas. October, with temperatures hovering around 65 degrees Fahrenheit at night, the desert air sharp and dry. Danielle Caldwell hadn't slept. Not really. The text from last night, "Don't dig deeper." The ferryman's watching burned behind her eyes, each word a splinter in her brain. She sat at her kitchen table, the Henderson duplex silent except for the hum of the fridge. The broken wine glass still lay in shards on the floor, red stains drying into the tiles like a crime scene. It was 6:47 a.m., the sky outside bruised purple, and her laptop screen glowed with dead-end Google searches. Silver coin with M, Red Rock Canyon disappearances, ferryman legend. Nothing but coin nerds and tinfoil hat blogs. Her phone buzzed, jarring her. Another unknown number. Her heart lurched, but it was just a spam text about car warranties. "Get a grip, Danny." she muttered, rubbing her face. But the coin from the cave, the note in Marissa's backpack, there at the bottom, they weren't random. Someone was screwing with her, and she'd be damned if she sat here waiting for answers. She grabbed her keys and headed to the Las Vegas metro station, 12 miles away. The morning was crisp, 60 degrees Fahrenheit, the kind of October chill that made Vegas feel almost normal. Her Ford Focus rattled through Henderson's suburban maze, past cookie-cutter houses and Starbucks drive-thrus. Detective Raymond Chin had told her to stay put, but staying put wasn't in her DNA, not after 4 years of chasing ghosts. At the station, Chin was in his office, surrounded by stacks of case files and a half-empty coffee mug. He looked like he'd slept in his suit, gray fabric creased, eyes bloodshot. "You're early," he said, glancing up. "Thought I told you to rest." "Couldn't," Danielle said, dropping into a chair. "That coin, the note, what's the lab say?" Chin sighed, leaning back. "Coin's clean. No prints, no DNA. Silver, high purity, but no mint mark or origin. The note's trickier. Ink's fresh, maybe a year old, not 4. Papers from a cheap legal pad, sold everywhere." Danielle's stomach twisted. "So, someone planted it. Recently." "Maybe," Chin said, cautious. "Or the backpack was buried deep, preserved. We're still sweeping the cave. Found nothing else yet." She leaned forward, voice low. "Chin, that text I got last night. You think it's connected?" He frowned, scribbling in his notebook. "Could be a prank. Kids mess with cold cases sometimes. But I don't like it. Forward it to me, and don't engage if they text again." Danielle nodded, but her mind was already racing. A prank? Bullshit. The ferryman wasn't some urban legend, it was a warning. She needed more than Chin's slow grind. She needed someone who'd dig as hard as she would. By noon, Danielle was parked outside Desert Bloom Cafe, a hole-in-the-wall joint 15 miles south of Vegas, near the I-15. The place was a defaded neon sign, cracked vinyl booths, the kind of spot truckers and drifters haunted. She'd found Lena Torres through a Reddit thread on Nevada cold cases, a 28-year-old investigative reporter with a rep for chasing stories the cops ignored. Lena's blog had mentioned Red Rock disappearances, hinting at a pattern Danielle hadn't seen before. Inside, the air smelled of burnt coffee and fryer grease. Lena sat in a corner booth, laptop open, black hair pulled into a messy bun. She was younger than Danielle expected, sharp-eyed, with a leather jacket and a vibe that screamed, "Don't waste my time." Danielle slid into the booth, setting her phone down. "You Lena? You Danielle?" Lena didn't look up, typing furiously. "Gimme a sec, chasing a lead on a missing hiker from 19. Danielle waited, sizing her up. Lena was all edges quick, restless, like she lived on caffeine and deadlines. Finally, Lena closed the laptop, meeting her eyes. "Okay, talk. You said this is about your sister?" "Marissa Voss," Danielle said, voice steady despite the knot in her chest. "Disappeared 4 years ago in Red Rock Canyon with her husband, Ethan. Pregnant, 8 months. Cops found her backpack yesterday, ID, a weird note, and a silver coin with an M etched on it." Lana's eyes narrowed. "Silver coin? Describit. Small, maybe an inch across. No other markings, just the M. Found it in a cave near where the backpack was." Lena leaned back, whistling softly. "Holy shit, that's the third one." "Third, what?" Danielle's pulse quickened. "Coin," Lena said, pulling out her phone. She swiped to a grainy photo, a silver coin, identical to the one from the cave, sitting on a coroner's table. This was found in 2017, near a hiker's body in Red Rock. Guy named Paul Reyes, 34, went missing on a solo trip. Ruled an accident, fell, cracked his skull, but the coin? Never explained. Another one showed up in 2020, with a Jane Doe's remains. 7 disappearances in 10 years, 3 with coins. You seeing the pattern? Danielle's mouth went dry. You're saying Marissa's part of, what, a serial killer? Not saying that, Lena said, voice low. But it's not random. Someone's marking these cases. And the cops? They don't want to touch it. Too messy, Too many questions. Danielle's mind spun. 7 disappearances. Coins. The ferryman. Why haven't I heard about this? Lena Smerket, Bitter. Vegas PD's got a knack for burying bad PR. Missing hikers don't look good for tourism, but I've been digging, and there's whispers some kind of operation in the desert, not just a lone psycho. Think bigger. Like what? Danielle pressed. Lena hesitated, glancing around the cafe. The only other customers were a trucker nursing a coffee and a waitress wiping down the counter. I don't know yet, she admitted, but I've got a source, someone who got out. You want to meet her? It's your call. She's fragile. Danielle didn't hesitate. Set it up. 2 hours later, Danielle followed Lena's beat-up Jeep Wrangler to a rundown trailer park 20 miles east of Vegas, near Lake Mead. The desert stretched endless around them, 68 degrees Fahrenheit but feeling colder under the gray sky. The trailers were rusted, sagging, the kind of place you go to disappear. Lena parked near a faded blue trailer, its windows covered with tinfoil. Her name's Mia, Lena said, killing the engine. 19, runaway from Reno. She's been through hell, so go easy. And don't push if she shuts down. Danielle nodded, her stomach churning. The trailer door creaked open, and Mia stepped out gaunt, pale, with stringy blonde hair and eyes that darted like a cornered animal. She wore an oversized hoodie, hands stuffed in the pockets, and stood maybe 5 feet tall, 100 pounds soaking wet. You the sister? Mia asked, voice barely above a whisper. Yeah, Danielle said, softening her tone. Marissa's my sister. I just want to know what happened to her. How? Mia's gaze flicked to Lena, then back. Inside, she said, jerking her head toward the trailer. The interior was cramped, smelling of stale cigarettes and mildew. A single bulb flickered overhead, casting harsh shadows. Mia sat on a sagging couch, pulling her knees to her chest. Danielle and Lena took the floor, the carpet gritty under their hands. I don't like talking about it, Mia started, voice trembling. But Lena said you're not a cop, so, fine. No. Take your time, Danielle said, though her heart was racing. Mia's eyes went distant, like she was seeing something else. 2 years ago, I was hitchhiking outside Vegas. Bad decision. This van pulled up, guy offered a ride. Next thing I know, I'm waking up in a place. Like a hospital, but wrong. Concrete walls, old surgical gear, screams down the hall. She shuddered, hugging herself. They kept me there, took my kidney, said I was lucky they didn't take more. Danielle's blood ran cold. Where was this? Desert, Mia said. Somewhere north, maybe 30 miles from Vegas, a warehouse, hidden. They called it the shop, had doctors, guards, everything, and him, the ferryman. Danielle leaned forward, voice tight. Who's the ferryman? Mia's eyes filled with tears. He's not human, tall, wears a leather mask, never talks. If you try to run, he finds you. Leaves a coin, then you're gone. I saw him once, dragging a guy who tried to escape. Next day, they found the guy's body in a ditch, coin on his chest. Lena cut in, voice steady. Mia, tell her about the operation. Mia swallowed hard. They harvest people, kidneys, livers, corneas. Sell them to rich bastards who need transplants. Homeless, runaways, people no one misses. They kept us alive, doped up, until they needed something else. Danielle's stomach churned. Marissa, 8 months pregnant, out there with Ethan. Had they stumbled into this? Did you see a woman, pregnant, or a guy, a surgeon, Marissa and Ethan Voss? Mia shook her head, but her eyes flickered. Didn't see no pregnant lady, but a surgeon. Yeah, they had a guy, forced him to do the cuts, called him Doc. He didn't want to be there, you could tell, kept muttering about his wife. Danielle's breath caught. Ethan. Alive? Or was it him? What'd he look like? Tall, dark hair, maybe 40, Mia said. Scared, like the rest of us. I didn't stick around to ask his name. I got out when a guard got sloppy, left the door unlocked, ran 10 miles till I hit a gas station. Danielle's mind raced. Ethan, forced to operate in some desert hellhole. It fit his late nights, his secrets, but Marissa, where was she? Mia, this warehouse, could you find it again? Mia's face went white. No way. I ain't going back. The ferryman's still out there. He knows when you talk. Lena touched Mia's arm. You did good, kid. Rest now. Hi. Outside, Danielle's hand shook as she lit a cigarette, her first in years. The desert stretched around them, vast and empty, the wind carrying a low moan. You believe her? She asked Lena. Every word, Lena said, leaning against her Jeep. I've cross-checked her story. Hospital records show a Jane Doe admitted in 23, missing a kidney, no ID. Matches Mia's timeline. And those coins? They're a signature. Someone's running a tight operation, and they've got enough pull to keep the cops quiet. Danielle's jaw tightened. Chin's not dirty. He's been on Marissa's case from day one. Lena raised an eyebrow. You sure? Cops don't ignore 7 missing people unless someone's greasing palms. Watch your back, Danielle. You're stirring up shit bigger than you know. Back at her duplex, Danielle dug through a box of Marissa's things, kept in the garage since the disappearance. Photos, letters, a recipe book, useless, until she found a leather-bound journal tucked under a sweater. Marissa's handwriting filled the pages, neat and looping. Danielle flipped to the last entry, dated the 12th of October, 2018, 2 days before they vanished. Ethan's acting weird again. Late nights, says it's work, but I saw him at Caesar's Palace last week, meeting some guy Dominic, I think. He came home with $5,000 cash, said it was a bonus. I don't buy it. He's stressed, keeps checking his phone. I'm scared, but the baby's so close. I just want us to be okay. Danielle's heart sank. Dominic. Gambling. Ethan was in deep, and Marissa knew it. She kept reading, her fingers trembling. Another entry, a week earlier. Ethan's hiding something. Found a receipt in his jacket, $10,000 to DT at a warehouse in North Las Vegas. I asked him, and he shut down. Said it's nothing. I don't know who to trust. DT, Dominic Torino? Danielle's mind flashed to Mia's story, the warehouse, the shop. She grabbed her phone, ready to call Chin, but hesitated. Lena's warning echoed. Cops don't ignore 7 missing people. What if Chin was holding back? She needed more. She drove to Marissa and Ethan's old house in Summerlin, 8 miles away, a split level left empty since 2018. The lawn was overgrown, newspapers piled on the porch. Danielle used her spare key, the door creaking as she stepped inside. The air was stale, dust coating everything. She moved to the bedroom, searching for anything, a receipt, a note, something to tie Ethan to this Dominic. In the closet, she found a locked metal box under a pile of clothes. She pried it open with a screwdriver, her pulse racing. Inside, a stack of cash, maybe $2,000, and a single photo. Ethan at a medical conference in Reno, 2017, wearing a brown fedora. He was smiling, but behind him, reflected in a glass door, was a man, blurry, but holding something small and round, a coin. Her phone buzzed, shattering the silence. She jumped, nearly dropping the photo. A text, unknown number. You're digging too deep. Her blood ran cold. She ran to the window, peering through the blinds. Across the street, a black SUV idled, tinted windows hiding whoever was inside. Her heart pounded as she backed away, clutching the photo. She bolted to her car, locking the doors, and peeled out of Summerlin, the SUV trailing her. The Vegas streets blurred past neon signs, tourists, traffic. She took a sharp turn into an alley behind a strip mall, tires screeching, and floored it through a maze of backroads. The SUV followed, relentless, closing the gap. Her hand shook, knuckles white on the wheel. Come on, she hissed, weaving through traffic. At a red light, she glanced in the rearview. The SUV was gone. She exhaled, shaky, but then saw it parked 50 feet away, engine off. A figure stepped out, too far to see clearly, and placed something on her car's hood. A glint of silver. She floored the gas, running the light, horns blaring around her. Back at her duplex, she parked in the garage, heart still racing. On her hood, taped to the windshield, was another silver coin, M etched deep. She stumbled inside, locking every door, and sank to the floor, the photo of Ethan clutched in her hand. In the dim light, she studied it again. The man in the reflection, his face was blurry, but his posture, the way he held the coin, it felt familiar. Too familiar. Her phone buzzed again. She screamed, dropping the photo. The screen lit up with a new text, unknown number. Look closer. Attached was a grainy Imaja security cam still, time-stamped last night. Ethan, alive, gaunt, in a concrete room, staring at the camera. His lips moved, barely audible. Danny, stay away. Marissa and Ethan's old house in Summerlin, Nevada, a dusty relic of their past, and a hidden cave in Red Rock Canyon, cold and claustrophobic. Late October, with temperatures dropping to 50 degrees Fahrenheit at night, the desert air biting and restless. Danielle Caldwell's hands wouldn't stop shaking. The grainy security cam image of Ethan gaunt, alive, whispering her name burned in her mind like a brand. She sat on the floor of her Henderson duplex, the photo from Marissa and Ethan's old house clutched in one hand, the silver coin from her car glinting on the coffee table. It was 2:17 a.m., the neighborhood dead quiet, but sleep was a pipe dream. The coin's etched M seemed to pulse in the dim light, mocking her. Marissa's journal, open beside her, screamed secrets. Ethan's gambling debts, his meetings with Dominic, a $10,000 payment to DT at a North Las Vegas warehouse. And now Mia's story, a desert shop, where people were carved up like meat. It was all connected, and Danielle was neck-deep in it. She forced herself to stand, legs wobbly, and grabbed her phone. The text from the unknown number looked closer still glowed on the screen, time-stamped 11:43 p.m. She'd forwarded it to Detective Raymond Chen, but he hadn't called back. Nina's warning nodded her. Cops don't ignore 7 missing people. Was Chen holding out, or was he just swamped? Either way, she couldn't wait. The journal mentioned a warehouse. In the photo, Ethan with that blurry figure holding a coin felt like a map to answers. She needed more from the Summerlin house. By 3 a.m., Danielle was back in her Ford Focus, driving the 8 miles to Summerlin. The Vegas skyline flickered in the distance, neon bleeding into the dark. The air was sharp, 52 degrees Fahrenheit, the desert wind rattling her car's loose fender. Marissa and Ethan's split level loomed ahead, its overgrown lawn and piled newspapers a ghost of their old life. She parked a block away, heart pounding, eyes scanning for that black SUV from yesterday. The street was empty, but the shadows felt alive, shifting in ways that made her skin crawl. Inside, the house was a time capsule, dusty furniture, faded photos, the faint smell of Marissa's vanilla perfume lingering like a memory. Danielle moved to the bedroom, her flashlight beam cutting through the dark. The metal box from the closet was still open, cash and the Reno conference photo spilled out. She rifled through the rest, desperate for anything, a note, a receipt, a damn post-it. Her fingers brushed something hard under the box's lining. She tore it free. A small notebook, black leather, Ethan's tight scrawl filling the pages. She flipped it open, pulse racing. Dates, numbers, addresses. One entry, dated September 2018, a month before they vanished. Meeting DT, North Las Vegas, 47B $50 K drop. He knows about the shop. Ferryman handles cleanup. Another, a week later. M's asking questions. Can't let her find out. Too dangerous. Danielle's stomach churned. Ethan knew about the shop, Mia's warehouse, the organ harvesting, and he'd kept it from Marissa. Had he dragged her into this, or was he protecting her? A floorboard creaked downstairs. Danielle froze, flashlight snapping off. Her breath caught, shallow and quick. Another creak, deliberate, like someone testing their weight. She shoved the notebook into her jacket, grabbed the screwdriver from the closet, and crept to the stairs. The living room was a sea of shadows, moonlight slanting through cracked blinds. A figure moved near the front door, silent, wearing a hooded jacket, not the SUV guy, someone new. Who's there? She hissed, gripping the screwdriver like a knife. The figure froze, then raised a hand. "Danielle, it's me." "Lena." Danielle exhaled, but didn't lower the screwdriver. "Jesus, Lena, you scared the shit out of me. What are you doing here?" Lena stepped into the light, her leather jacket scuffed, eyes wild. "You didn't answer my texts. I figured you'd be here, poking around. You find anything?" Danielle hesitated. Lena was sharp, but her showing up unannounced felt off. "Just stuff, old papers." She tucked the notebook deeper into her jacket. "Why are you creeping around at 3 a.m.? Lena's jaw tightened. "Because I got a tip. My source says there's a cave in Red Rock, near where they found Marissa's backpack. Not on any map. People go in, don't come out. I think it's tied to the coins." Danielle's mind flashed to the silver coin. The note, they're at the bottom. "You think Marissa's there?" "Maybe," Lena said. "Or answers." "I'm going now. You in?" Every instinct screamed to wait for Chin, to play it safe. But Ethan's notebook burned against her chest, and Marissa's face smiling, pregnant, gone pushed her forward. "Let's go." The drive to Red Rock Canyon was 20 miles, the road twisting through dark hills. Lena's Jeep Wrangler led, Danielle's Focus trailing, the desert a black void around them. The temperature had dropped to 50 degrees Fahrenheit, the wind howling like a warning. Lena parked near Calico Hills, the same spot where the backpack was found. The cliffs loomed 500 feet high, redstone glowing faintly under starlight. Danielle grabbed her flashlight and a water bottle, her boots crunching on gravel. "This better not be a wild goose chase," she muttered, zipping her jacket. Lena checked her phone, a GPS app open. "Source says the cave's 300 feet west, hidden behind a boulder. Stay close." They hiked, the trail rough, rocks slipping underfoot. Danielle's flashlight swept the ground, catching fresh footprints too many for climbers. Her gut twisted. "Lena, you see these?" Lena crouched, frowning. "Yeah, recent. Could be rangers, or not." She stood, hand brushing her pocket, where Danielle glimpsed the outline of a small pistol. "Keep moving." The boulder was massive, 10 feet tall, half buried in the sand. Behind it, a narrow crevice yawned, barely 3 feet wide, leading to a cave mouth. The air was cold, damp, reeking of decay like the cave where they'd found the first coin. Danielle's heart pounded. "This is it," she whispered. Lena nodded, pulling a headlamp from her bag. "You sure you're ready?" "No," Danielle said, but stepped forward anyway. Inside, the cave was a coffin walls closing in, ceiling low, the smell of rot choking. Their flashlight beams danced across jagged stone, revealing a tunnel sloping downward. 10 feet in, Danielle spotted something carved into the wall, a crude M, scratched deep, like the coin's etching. "Lena, look." Lena's headlamp swung over. "Shit. That's no coincidence." They pushed deeper, the tunnel narrowing, forcing them to crouch. At 50 feet, it opened into a chamber, maybe 20 feet across, the floor littered with debris-rusted cans, shredded fabric, and bones. Human bones, scattered like confetti. Danielle's stomach lurched, her flashlight locking on a skull, its jawbone missing. "Oh God," she gasped, stumbling back. Lena grabbed her arm, steadying her. "Focus, Danielle. Look for Marissa." Danielle forced herself to move, scanning the pile. A glint caught her eye, a metal plate, surgical, attached to a tibia. Her breath hitched. Marissa had a knee surgery in 2015, a skiing accident, pins and a plate. She crouched, hands trembling, and lifted the bone. The serial number was faint but clear. "It's her," she choked out. "Marissa, oh God, it's her." Tears blurred her vision, but rage burned hotter. "Why here?" she screamed, voice echoing. "Ethan, you bastard, why'd you leave her?" Lena's headlamp swept the chamber, landing on a metal box half buried in the dirt. "Danielle, over there." She pried it open, revealing a stack of papers, medical records, all stamped, Voss, Marissa. Cause of death, gunshot wound to the head. Date, the 14th of October, 2018. Danielle's world tilted. A bullet. Not an accident, not lost. Murdered. Before she could process, a low hum echoed from the tunnel like a growl, guttural, inhuman. Lena spun, pistol drawn. What the hell was that? Danielle's flashlight caught movement at the chamber's edge. A figure, tall, maybe 6'5", cloaked in shadow, wearing a leather mask that gleamed wetly. No eyes, just black holes. The ferryman. He moved silently, a blade glinting in his hand, 10 feet away and closing fast. Run! Lena screamed, firing a shot. The bullet sparked off the wall, missing. The ferryman lunged, impossibly fast, his blade slashing Lena's arm. She cried out, dropping the gun, blood spraying. Danielle grabbed her, dragging her toward a side tunnel, the ferryman's footsteps heavy behind them. The tunnel was a choke point, barely 2 feet wide, rocks tearing at their clothes. Danielle's flashlight bounced, shadows twisting like demons. Lena's arm bled bad, soaking her jacket. Keep going, Danielle hissed, her own fear clawing her throat. The hum followed, relentless, closer. They stumbled into another chamber, smaller, a dead end. Danielle swung her flashlight, searching for an out. Nothing but stone. Lena slumped against the wall, panting, her face pale. He's not human, she gasped. I told you, Danielle, he's not. Shut up, Danielle snapped, desperation spiking. She scanned the floor, spotting a loose rock. She pried it free, revealing a shallow pit and another coin, silver, etched deep. Her stomach dropped. He's marking us. The hum stopped. Silence, worse than the noise, pressed in. Danielle killed her flashlight, plunging them into black. Her heart hammered, every breath loud as a gunshot. Then, a scrape metal on stone, 5 feet away. The ferryman was here. Lena's breath hitched, a sob. Danielle gripped the screwdriver, useless against that blade, but it was all she had. The air shifted, cold, heavy, like death breathing down her neck. A low voice, gravelly, broke the silence. You don't belong here. Danielle's scream caught in her throat. She swung the screwdriver blindly, hitting nothing. A hand grabbed her wrist, twisting hard, and the tool clattered away. The ferryman loomed, his mask inches from her face, the smell of leather and blood choking her. Lena lunged, tackling him, her blood-slick hands slipping. He threw her off like a rag doll, her head cracking against the wall. Danielle scrambled back, tripping over bones, her flashlight skittering across the floor. Its beam caught the ferryman's mask, his empty eyeholes boring into her. She dove for the side tunnel, crawling, rocks ripping her palms. Behind, Lena's scream cut off, sharp and final. Danielle didn't look back. She couldn't. The tunnel spat her out near the cave mouth, starlight blinding after the dark. She ran, legs burning, the 300 feet to Lena's jeep feeling like miles. Her keys, where were they? Pockets, empty. She cursed, smashing the window with a rock, hot wiring it like her ex taught her years ago. The engine roared, and she floored it, tires kicking up dust, the canyon shrinking in the rear view. Her phone, wedged in her jacket, buzzed. She fumbled it, nearly swerving off the road. A text, unknown number, you can't outrun him. Attached was a photo Lena, slumped in the cave, blood pooling, a silver coin on her chest. Danielle's scream tore through the jeep, raw, primal. She didn't stop until she hit Henderson, parking in her garage, doors locked, lights off. The notebook was still in her jacket, Marissa's medical records crumpled beside it. Ethan's words haunted her. M's asking questions, too dangerous. He'd known. He'd let Marissa die. And the ferryman, whatever he was, knew she was next. Her phone buzzed again. She didn't want to look, but couldn't stop herself. Another text, same number. Check the photo. Trembling, she opened the image of Lena again. In the corner, barely visible, was a reflection in the cave wall. A man, blurry, holding a coin. His posture, his build, it was chin. North Las Vegas Industrial Zone, a sprawling desert lot with a derelict warehouse bathed in flickering fluorescent light. and a sleek office hidden within, reeking of antiseptic and money. Late October, temperatures at 48 degrees Fahrenheit, the desert night sharp and unforgiving. Danielle Caldwell's hands gripped the steering wheel, her knuckles white, as she sped through the desert night. The stolen Jeep Wrangler rattled over the uneven road, 30 miles north of Vegas, the city's neon glow, a faint smear on the horizon. Ethan's notebook, tucked in her jacket, felt like a lead weight against her chest. Its pages burned in her mind. DT, North Las Vegas, 47B ferryman handles cleanup. Marissa's medical records, crumpled beside her, confirmed the unthinkable. Her sister, shot point blank, left to rot in a cave. And now Chin, the detective she'd trusted, staring back from that grainy photo, holding a silver coin. Her world was unraveling, thread by bloody thread. The address from the notebook led to the North Las Vegas industrial zone, a maze of rusted warehouses and abandoned lots. The air was cold, 48 degrees Fahrenheit, the wind howling like a wounded animal. Danielle parked a quarter-mile away, behind a crumbling concrete barrier, and killed the engine. Her breath fogged in the dark, her heart pounding so loud she swore it echoed. The warehouse at 47B loomed ahead, its windows blacked out, a faint hum of generators betraying life inside. This was the shop Mia described, the organ harvesting hellhole where Ethan might still be alive. She checked her phone. No signal, just like Mia warned. The last text, "You can't outrun him," glowed in her memory, alongside Lena's lifeless body, a silver coin on her chest. Danielle shoved the phone in her pocket, grabbed a tire iron from the Jeep's floorboard, and slipped into the shadows. The desert sand crunched under her boots, each step a gamble. She wasn't trained for this, wasn't a cop or a hero, just a sister who'd lost everything. The warehouse's side door was rusted, padlocked, but the chain was loose. She pried it open, the metal screeching like a banshee. Inside, the air was thick with antiseptic and something sour, like blood gone bad. Fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting jagged shadows across concrete walls. The space was vast, maybe 200 feet long, partitioned into rooms with steel doors. Muffled screams leaked from one, chilling her to the bone. She gripped the tire iron tighter, creeping forward, her boots silent on the cold floor. A door to her left stood ajar, light spilling out. She peered inside, a surgical room, old but functional, with a stainless steel table, IV drips, and monitors beeping faintly. A tray held scalpels, their blades glinting like teeth. Her stomach churned. This was where they carved people up, homeless, runaways, Marissa. She backed away, heart racing, and bumped into something solid. She spun, tire iron raised, but a hand clamped her wrist, twisting hard. The tool clattered to the floor. A man loomed over her, stocky, acne-scarred, wearing a brown fedora that stopped her cold. Ethan's hat, from the Reno photo. His grin was all teeth, no warmth. "You're a long way from Henderson, sweetheart," he said, voice like gravel. "Name's Rico. Welcome to the shop." Before she could scream, a second man, big, bald, with a neck tattoo, grabbed her arms, zip-tying her wrists. She kicked, catching Rico's shin, but he just laughed, shoving her into a chair. "Feisty," he said, tipping the fedora. "Doc's gonna love this." "Doc?" Danielle's voice cracked. "Ethan? He's here?" Rico's eyes gleamed. "Oh, you'll see him. Boss wants a family reunion." They dragged her down a corridor, past more steel doors, some with muffled moans behind them. The air grew colder, the antiseptic stench stronger. They stopped at a room with a one-way glass window, like an interrogation cell. Inside, a man in filthy scrubs hunched over a surgical table, his hands trembling as he stitched a patient's abdomen. Danielle's breath caught. Ethan. Gaunt, hollow-eyed, a ghost of the man she'd known. He looked up, meeting her eyes through the glass, and his face crumpled shock, guilt, fear. "Ethan," she shouted, lunging forward, but Rico yanked her back. "Easy, princess," he said, shoving her into the room. Ethan dropped the scalpel, the clatter echoing. The Pashenta young man, unconscious, IV lines snaking from his arm, didn't stir. "Danny," Ethan rasped, voice breaking. What the hell are you doing here? Looking for you, she snapped, tears burning her eyes. Marissa's dead, Ethan. Shot. I found her bones. What did you do? His face twisted, pain raw as a wound. I couldn't stop them. He glanced at Rico, who leaned against the wall, smirking. They killed her, Danny. Dominic. To punish me. Enough chat, Rico barked, pulling a gun from his waistband. Doc, finish the job. Or your sister-in-law gets a front row seat to the next one. Danielle's mind raced. Ethan, alive, but a prisoner. Marissa, murdered. Dominic, whoever he was pulling the strings, she needed to keep them talking. Who's Dominic? She demanded, voice steady despite her pounding heart. Rico chuckled, twirling the gun. The man with the plan, you'll meet him soon enough. The door swung open, and a new figure stepped in tall, mid-50s, in a tailored suit that screamed money. His hair was silver, his eyes cold as the desert night. He carried himself like he owned the world, a predator in Armani. Miss Caldwell, he said, voice smooth, almost cultured. You're more resourceful than I expected. Dominic Torino, she spat, recognizing the name from Ethan's notebook. You killed my sister. Dominic's smile was thin, calculated. A tragedy, but necessary. Your brother-in-law made poor choices. Gambling debts, bad company. He thought he could walk away from our arrangement. Marissa paid the price. Ethan lunged, but Rico slammed him against the wall, gun pressed to his temple. Try it, Doc, and she's next. Danielle's knees buckled, but she forced herself to stand tall. What arrangement? Dominic stepped closer, his cologne sharp, expensive. I save lives, Miss Caldwell. The wealthy, the powerful people who deserve a second chance. A kidney here, a liver there. Ethan's skills made it possible. But he got cold feet, started asking questions. So, we took his wife, a lesson in loyalty. You're a monster, she whispered, bile rising. Monster? Dominic laughed softly. I lost a son, Miss Caldwell. A transplant could have saved him, but the system failed. I built a better one. Those we harvest drifters, addicts, they're nobody. Their lives buy time for those who matter. Danielle's rage boiled over. Marissa mattered. She was 8 months pregnant. Dominic's eyes flickered, a crack in his composure. Collateral damage. Ethan's debt was steep, $300,000, plus interest. He tried to run, so we brought them here. She fought, tried to call the cops. Unfortunate. Ethan's sob broke the silence, raw, gut-wrenching. I begged them, Danny. I begged. Shut up, Rico snapped, pistol whipping him. Ethan crumpled, blood trickling from his brow. Danielle's hands strained against the zip ties, cutting her wrists. She needed to get out, get Ethan out, find that notebook he'd hidden, the one he'd mentioned in his notes, proof to bring Dominic down. You're sick, she said, stalling. Killing people for profit? You think you're God? Dominic's smile returned, colder. I'm practical. And you, Miss Caldwell, are a problem. He nodded to Rico. Take her to the holding room. Doc, back to work. Rico dragged her down another corridor, past rooms with hospital beds, monitors beeping, victims strapped down. One door was open, revealing a girl, Mia, the runaway from the trailer park, unconscious, an IV in her arm. Danielle's heart sank. They'd caught her again. You bastards, she hissed, thrashing. Rico shoved her into a concrete cell, 10 feet by 10, with a single cot and a bucket. Sit tight, he said, slamming the door. The lock clicked, final as a gunshot. Alone, Danielle's mind raced. Ethan was alive, forced to cut for these monsters. Marissa was dead, a lesson. And Chin Chin was one of them, or at least tied to the ferryman. She tugged at the zip ties, the plastic biting her skin, but they held firm. The room was bare, the air stale, but something caught her eye, a loose bolt in the cot's frame. She worked it free, using it to saw at the ties, her wrists bleeding. Minutes dragged, each scrape of metal deafening in the silence. The ties snapped. She rubbed her wrists, scanning the room. No windows, no vents, just the door. She pounded on it, shouting, "Let me out." No response. Then, a muffled scream from down the hall. Mia's voice, raw, desperate. Danielle's blood ran cold. They were operating on her, right now. She grabbed the bolt, jamming it into the lock, twisting with all her strength. The mechanism groaned but held. "Come on," she hissed, sweat stinging her eyes. Another scream, louder, then silence. Her heart pounded. She had to get to Mia, to Ethan, before it was too late. The lock gave, the door creaking open. The corridor was empty, fluorescent lights flickering like a dying pulse. She crept forward, the tire iron gone, the bolt her only weapon. A surgical room loomed ahead, the door half open. Inside, Ethan stood over Mia, scalpel in hand, his face a mask of anguish. Rico watched, gun drawn, barking orders. "Hurry up, Doc. Kidneys due by dawn." Danielle's rage exploded. She charged, slamming the bolt into Rico's hand. He roared, the gun skittering across the floor. Ethan froze, scalpel trembling. "Danny." "What?" "Move," she shouted, grabbing the gun. Rico lunged, but she fired, the shot grazing his shoulder. He stumbled, cursing, and she kicked the door shut, barricading it with a chair. "Ethan, help her." Ethan snapped into action, unhooking Mia's IV, checking her pulse. "She's stable, but we gotta go, now." They lifted Mia, her body limp, and stumbled into the corridor. Alarms blared, red lights flashing, the warehouse waking like a beast. Footsteps thundered guards, maybe the ferryman. Danielle clutched the gun, its weight foreign in her hand. "Where's the exit?" "South side," Ethan said, voice shaky. "But they've got cameras, guards, and Dominic's got something worse." "Worse than Rico?" she snapped, dragging Mia. Ethan's eyes were haunted. "The ferryman, he's not just one guy. They've got backups." Danielle's stomach dropped. Backups? Multiple ferrymen? She pushed the thought down, focusing on the corridor. A guard appeared, 20 feet away, raising a shotgun. She fired first, the recoil jarring her arm, the guard collapsing. Ethan flinched, but kept moving, Mia slung between them. They reached a loading dock, the desert night visible through a cracked door. Freedom, 50 feet away. But a figure stepped into the light. Dominic, calm, holding a sleek pistol. "Leaving so soon?" he said, voice dripping venom. "You've got my ledger, Miss Caldwell. Hand it over, and I might let one of you live." Danielle's hand tightened on the gun. The notebook Ethan's proof was still in her jacket. "Go to hell," she spat. Dominic sighed, raising his weapon. "Pity. I liked your fire." Before he could fire, a low hum echoed from behind a guttural, inhuman sound. Danielle's blood froze. The ferryman. Tall, leather-masked, blade gleaming, he emerged from the shadows, 10 feet away. But something was off. His movements were jerky, not fluid like the cave. A different one? Ethan shoved Mia into Danielle's arms. "Run," he shouted, tackling Dominic. The two men crashed to the ground, the pistol skidding away. The ferryman advanced, blade raised, his mask's eye holes black voids. Danielle dragged Mia toward the door, her legs screaming, the gun shaking in her hand. She fired at the ferryman, the shot wild, sparking off the wall. He didn't flinch, closing the gap. Ethan wrestled with Dominic, blood smearing the concrete. "Danny, go," he yelled, his voice raw. She stumbled into the desert, Mia's weight dragging her down, the warehouse's alarm shrieking. The jeep was 200 feet away, a beacon in the dark. She glanced back. Ethan pinned under Dominic, the ferryman raising his blade. Her heart tore, but Mia's shallow breaths kept her moving. At the jeep, she shoved Mia inside, fumbling the keys. The engine roared, but a shadow loomed in the rear view. The ferryman, sprinting, impossibly fast. She floored it, tires spinning, dust choking the air. The warehouse shrank, but the hum followed, relentless. Her phone buzzed, forgotten in her pocket. She grabbed it, hands slick with sweat. A text, unknown number. There's more than one. Attached was a photo. Ethan, beaten, tied to a chair, and standing beside him, unmasked, was Mia, awake, smiling, a coin in her hand. North Las Vegas Industrial Zone. A labyrinth of concrete corridors and surgical rooms in a derelict warehouse. And the desolate Nevada desert under a silver moon, temperatures dipping to 45 degrees Fahrenheit. The air sharp as a blade. Danielle Caldwell's heart slammed against her ribs as she floored the Jeep Wrangler, tires screeching across the desert gravel. The North Las Vegas Industrial Zone shrank in the rearview, but the ferryman's shadow tall, leather-masked, blade gleaming haunted her. Mia, slumped in the passenger seat, was barely breathing, her hoodie soaked with sweat and blood. Danielle's phone, wedged in the center console, glowed with the last text. There's more than one. The attached photo Mia, awake, smiling, holding a silver coin beside a beaten Ethan burned in her mind. Mia, the runaway she trusted, was one of them, a traitor, a ferryman. The desert stretched endless, 30 miles from Vegas, the night cold at 45 degrees Fahrenheit, the wind howling like a dying animal. Danielle's hands shook, the stolen Jeep's engine rattling as she pushed it past 70 miles per hour. Ethan's notebook, stuffed in her jacket, held the key names, dates, buyers for Dominic Torino's organ harvesting ring. She'd left Ethan behind, pinned under Dominic, the ferryman closing in. Her gut twisted with guilt, but Mia's shallow breaths kept her moving. She had to get out, get help, expose this nightmare. The Jeep's headlights caught a glint another silver coin, lying in the road like a trap. Danielle swerved, tires kicking up dust, but the image of Mia's smirk in that photo gnawed at her. Was Mia playing her? Or was the photo a fake, meant to break her? She glanced at the girl, pale, unconscious, barely 100 pounds. No way she was a killer. But doubt clawed her mind. A mile out, the Jeep's engine sputtered, gas gauge kissing empty. No, 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 Danielle hissed, pounding the wheel. She coasted to a stop, the desert swallowing the headlights. Silence pressed in, heavy, suffocating. She checked her phony bars, just like Mia warned about the warehouse. The notebook was her only shot, but she needed to reach civilization, find a phone, call someone but Chen. His blurry figure in the cave photo, holding a coin, marked him as a ferryman, a traitor in a badge. Danielle grabbed the tire iron from the floorboard, her only weapon, and shook Mia. "Wake up," she snapped, voice raw. Mia's eyes fluttered, unfocused, then snapped shut. Drugged or faking? Danielle couldn't tell. She dragged Mia from the Jeep, the girl's weight dead in her arms, and started walking. The warehouse was a mile back, its faint lights a speck on the horizon. Vegas was too far. Her only hope was a gas station Mia had mentioned, maybe 5 miles east. The desert was a frozen hell, the sand crunching under her boots, the wind slicing through her jacket. She carried Mia piggyback, the tire iron tucked in her belt, every step a battle. The moon hung low, silver light casting long shadows that twisted like specters. Danielle's breath fogged, her arms burning, but she kept moving, driven by Marissa's face smiling, pregnant, then dead in a cave, a bullet through her skull. A low hum broke the silence, guttural, inhuman, the same sound from the warehouse. Danielle froze, Mia's weight dragging her down. She scanned the dark, eyes straining. A figure moved, 200 feet away, tall and silent, leather mask glinting under the moon. The ferryman. Not the one from the warehouse. His movements were smoother, deadlier. Another one, just like the text warned. Danielle dropped Mia, who hit the sand with a groan, and yanked the tire iron free. "Stay back," she shouted, voice cracking. The ferryman didn't answer, just advanced, a blade gleaming in his hand. She swung the iron, wild, missing by a foot. He lunged, faster than she expected, the blade grazing her arm. Blood bloomed, hot and sticky, pain searing. She stumbled, falling beside Mia, who stirred, mumbling incoherently. The ferryman loomed, 6'5", his mask a black void. Danielle scrambled back, sand in her eyes, and through the tire iron, it clipped his shoulder, useless. He raised the blade, and she braced for the end, then headlights flared, blinding. A black SUV roared up, tires screeching, and the ferryman vanished into the dark like smoke. The driver's door opened, and Detective Raymond Chin stepped out, his badge glinting, gun drawn. "Danielle, stay down," he barked, scanning the desert. Her blood ran cold. Chinty man from the cave photo, holding a coin. She grabbed Mia, dragging her behind a rock, heart pounding. "Stay away from me," she yelled, voice shaking. "I know what you are." Chin froze, confusion flickering across his face. "What the hell are you talking about? I got your text about the warehouse. SWAT's on the way." "Liar," she screamed, clutching the notebook. "I saw you in the cave, with the coin. You're one of the Ma ferrymen." Chin's eyes widened, then narrowed. "Danielle, you're not thinking straight. You're hurt, in shock. Let me help you." She backed away, Mia groaning at her feet. "You buried Marissa's case. 7 disappearances, and you did nothing. Why?" Chin lowered his gun, hands raised. "I didn't bury anything. I've been chasing this case for years, same as you. That photo, you don't know what you saw. Someone's messing with you, planting doubts." "Then explain the coin," she shouted, arm bleeding, the desert spinning. Before Chin could answer, sirens wailed in the distant SWAT, maybe 2 miles out. His radio crackled, voices barking coordinates. He stepped closer, voice low. "Danielle, I'm not the enemy, but you've got something. They want that notebook. Give it to me, and I'll keep you safe." Her gut screamed no. She bolted, dragging Mia, the sirens growing louder. Chin shouted her name, but she didn't stop, stumbling through the sand, her arm throbbing. The notebook was her leverage, proof of Dominic's crimes. She couldn't trust Chin, not after that photo. The desert blurred, her vision fading, blood loss hitting hard. She reached a dry riverbed, maybe 500 feet deep, and ducked behind a boulder. Mia stirred, eyes half open, voice slurred. "They lied," she mumbled. "Not me. They made me." Danielle shook her, desperate. "Who, Mia? Who's they?" Mia's eyes rolled back, but she choked out. "Ferryman, more than one." "Chin." She went limp, pulse faint. Danielle's heart stopped. "Chin." She peeked over the boulder. His SUV was parked 100 feet away, headlights off, his silhouette scanning the dark. The sirens were closer, maybe a mile, but not close enough. She needed to move, now. She slung Mia over her shoulder, staggering toward a cluster of rocks 200 feet east, where the riverbed sloped upward. The notebook slipped from her jacket, hitting the sand. She cursed, dropping to grab it, when a shadow moved. Chin, 50 feet away, gun raised. "Danielle, stop," he called, voice hard. "You're making this worse." She clutched the notebook, running, Mia's weight crushing her. The rocks loomed, a maze of sandstone offering cover. She ducked inside, heart pounding, and hid in a crevice, the desert's chill seeping into her bones. Chin's footsteps crunched closer, deliberate, like a hunter. Her arm bled steadily, soaking her sleeve, her head light. The sirens stopped, lights flashed. SWAT vans, maybe a dozen, flooding the riverbed. Danielle's hope surged, but Chin's voice cut through. "Closer now." "Danielle, I know you're here. Give me the notebook. You don't understand what you're holding." She pressed deeper into the crevice, Mia limp against her. The notebook's pages fluttered, revealing a list: names, dates, organs sold. One entry jumped out. R. Chin, $50 K, liver, 2019. Her stomach dropped. Chin wasn't just a ferryman, he was a buyer. Footsteps stopped, 10 feet away. Chin's silhouette filled the crevice's mouth, his gun glinting. "You're out of moves," he said, voice cold. "Hand it over, or you end up like Marissa." Danielle's rage exploded. She threw a rock, catching his wrist, the gun clattering. She lunged, tackling him, her bloody arms screaming. They hit the sand, wrestling, her nails clawing his face. He was stronger, pinning her, his breath hot. "You stupid bitch," he snarled, grabbing her throat. A gunshot rang out, deafening. Chin jerked, blood blooming on his chest, and collapsed. Danielle scrambled back, gasping, as a figure emerged from the dark. Ethan, battered, holding Rico's gun from the warehouse. "Danny," he rasped, swaying, blood dripping from a gash on his temple. "I got out, followed you." She crawled to him, tears burning. "Ethan, you're hurt." "No time," he said, voice breaking. "Dominic's coming. He knows you have the ledger." SWAT lights flooded the riverbed, boots pounding, radios crackling. Ethan dropped the gun, raising his hands as officers swarmed, shouting orders. Danielle clutched the notebook, her lifeline, as medics rushed to Mia, still limp. An officer grabbed Ethan, cuffing him, but his eyes locked on Danielle's, pleading. "Find the cave," he whispered. "It's all there." Before she could ask, a medic pulled her away, checking her arm. The riverbed was chaos. SWAT securing Chin's body, ambulances wailing, Ethan dragged to a van. Danielle's head spun, the notebook heavy in her hand. She opened it, scanning the last page, a map, hand-drawn, marked with a cave in Red Rock Canyon, labeled the pit. A note in Ethan's scrawl, all the coins, all the names. Her phone buzzed, forgotten in her pocket. She fumbled it, hands slick with blood. A text, unknown number. "You found the truth, now you're one of us." Attached was a photo of a cave, walls lined with silver coins, each etched with a letter. Dozens, maybe hundreds. In the center, a fresh coin, HD. Danielle's scream caught in her throat. She stumbled to her feet, the SWAT lights blinding, the desert closing in. The cave, the pit was, the key, and she was running out of time. A hidden cave in Red Rock Canyon, Nevada, a claustrophobic tomb of secrets under a silver moon, the Las Vegas Metro Police Department, a sterile hub of chaos, and a quiet Henderson cemetery at dusk. Late October, temperatures at 42 degrees Fahrenheit, the desert air sharp and unforgiving. Danielle Caldwell's scream died in her throat, choked by the desert's icy grip. The phone in her blood-slick hand glowed with the anonymous text. "You found the truth, now you're one of us." The attached photo, a cave lined with silver coins, each etched with a letter, and a fresh one marked D, sent a shiver down her spine. She stood in the dry riverbed, 30 miles north of Vegas, SWAT lights flashing like a war zone, their radios crackling with orders. Ethan, battered and cuffed, was being hauled into a police van, his eyes pleading as he whispered, "Find the cave, it's all there." The notebook in her jacket, Ethan's ledger of Dominic Torino's organ harvesting empire, felt heavier than ever. A hand-drawn map inside pointed to the Pita Cave in Red Rock Canyon, where the truth about Marissa's death, and maybe more, was buried. The SWAT team swarmed, medics tending to Mia, who lay limp on a stretcher, her pulse faint. Detective Raymond Chin's body shot by Ethan, revealed as a ferryman and a buyer in the organ ring-cooled in the sand, 50 feet away. Danielle's arm throbbed, blood seeping through her makeshift bandage, but she couldn't stop. Not now. The pit was the key, and Dominic was still out there, a spider spinning his web. A SWAT officer, a woman with a buzz cut and a no-nonsense stare, grabbed Danielle's shoulder. "Ma'am, you're hurt. Let the medics." "No," Danielle snapped, shrugging her off. "I need to get to Red Rock. There's a cave, the pit. It's where they hid everything." The officer, Captain Torres, frowned, radio crackling. "You're in no shape to go anywhere. Give us the intel. We'll handle it." Danielle clutched the notebook, her lifeline. "You don't get it. They've got people cops, maybe more on their payroll. Chin was one of them. I'm not trusting anyone until I see that cave." Torres's eyes narrowed, but she nodded. "Fine. You ride with me. But you stay back, understood?" Danielle agreed, her head spinning as medics patched her arm. Ethan was loaded into an ambulance, his face gray, blood crusting his temple. "Danny," he rasped as she passed. "The coins, they're the victims, everyone." She nodded, tears burning, and climbed into Torres's SUV. The drive to Red Rock Canyon was 25 miles, the desert a black void under a silver moon, the temperature dipping to 42 degrees Fahrenheit. The notebook's map was crude scratched lines, a circled X near Calico Hills but clear enough. Danielle's mind raced. Marissa, shot in 2018, her bones in a cave. Ethan, forced to carve up victims. Chin, a traitor. Mia, a liar or a pawn. And Dominic, the puppet master, still free. They parked near the same trailhead where Marissa's backpack was found, now crawling with SWAT and forensic techs. Torres led a team of 6, rifles ready, their flashlights cutting through the dark. Danielle followed, the notebook tucked inside her jacket, her boots slipping on loose gravel. The trail wound 300 feet west, past the boulder from Part 3, to a crevice hidden in the cliff face. The pit. The air was damp, reeking of rot, the entrance barely 3 feet high. "Stay here," Torres ordered, but Danielle ignored her, crawling in. The tunnel was tight, walls scraping her shoulders, the cold biting her bones. At 50 feet, it opened into a chamber, maybe 20 feet across, the floor littered with bones, human, weathered, some cracked by scavengers. Her flashlight swept the walls, and her breath caught dozens of silver coins, each etched with a letter, embedded in the stone like a grotesque memorial. A for Anna, P for Paul, M for Marissa. And there, in the center, a fresh coin, gleaming, etched with a D. "Oh God," Danielle whispered, her stomach churning. This was the PETA graveyard for Dominic's victims, each coin a trophy. She counted 37, her hand shaking. 37 lives, snuffed out for profit. Torres's team fanned out, bagging coins, photographing bones. "This is a crime scene," Torres said, voice tight. "We're calling in the feds. Whoever did this, they're not just local." Danielle opened the notebook, flipping to the map. A note in Ethan's scrawl. "Pit holds the ledger's key. Second chamber, under the slab." She scanned the chamber, spotting a flat stone, 5 feet wide, half buried in dirt. "Torres, help me," she called, dropping to her knees, digging with her hands. The slab was heavy, maybe 200 pounds, but Torres and 2 officers pried it free. Beneath was a metal box, rusted, locked with a padlock. Danielle smashed it with a rock, her arms screaming with pain. Inside, a second ledger, thicker than Ethan's, filled with names buyers, not victims. Politicians, CEOs, even a Vegas councilman. Dates, organs, prices $50,000 for a kidney, $200,000 for a liver, and 1 entry, circled in red, R. Chin, liver, 2019, $50 K, delivered by ferryman number 3. Danielle's blood ran cold. Ferryman number 3. There were more, just like Mia's photo suggested. She handed the ledger to Torres, who whistled low. "This is dynamite," she said. "We're talking federal indictments, but where's Torino?" Before Danielle could answer, a low hum echoed from the tunnel guttural, inhuman, the ferryman's signature. Torres's team spun, rifles up, flashlights sweeping. The hum grew louder, closer, then stopped. Silence, heavier than the dark, pressed in. Danielle's heart pounded, her hand clutching the notebook. "He's here," she whispered. A shadow moved, 10 feet away, tall and masked, blade gleaming. A different ferryman leaner, faster, his mask cracked at the edge. Torres shouted, "Freeze." But he lunged, blade slashing an officer's arm. Gunfire erupted, deafening, bullets sparking off stone. The ferryman dove behind a boulder, vanishing. Danielle grabbed Torres's arm. "We need to move." They retreated, dragging the wounded officer, the ledger tucked under Danielle's arm. The tunnel seemed tighter, the air choking, as if the cave itself wanted them dead. At the entrance, SWAT vans waited, floodlights blinding. Danielle stumbled into the night, gasping, the desert's cold biting her skin. Torres radioed for backup, her voice sharp. "Suspect in the cave, armed and dangerous. Seal it off." Danielle's phone buzzed. Forgotten in her pocket, she fumbled it, hands slick with dirt and blood. A text, unknown number. "You're too late." Attached was a live feed Dominic Torino, in a sleek office, burning papers. Behind him, a figure in a leather mask, holding a coin. The feed cut to black. The Las Vegas metro station was chaos, cops shouting, feds swarming, Ethan in a holding cell, Mia in a hospital bed. Danielle sat in an interrogation room, the ledger on the table, her arm bandaged but throbbing. Torres paced, her buzz cut gleaming under fluorescent lights. "You've got balls, Caldwell," she said. "That ledger's gonna bring down half of Vegas's elite." "But Torino's gone," slipped Arnett. Danielle's jaw tightened. "And the ferryman?" "Still in the wind," Torres said. "We found the cave empty. No prints, no blood, just those coins, like he was never there." Ethan's words echoed. "The coins are the victims." Danielle opened the ledger, scanning the names. One caught her eye. L. Torres, kidney, 2020, $75 K. She froze, eyes flicking to the captain. "Torres," she said, voice steady, "you ever buy anything? Off the books?" Torres stopped pacing, her face unreadable. "Watch your mouth, Caldwell. I'm not Chin." Daniela didn't blink, just asking. The door opened, and a Fed in a cheap suit took the ledger, promising indictments. Ethan was released to a hospital, his testimony critical. Mia, awake but shaken, swore she'd been drugged, forced to pose for that photo. Danielle wasn't sure she believed her, but Mia's eyes shone. Broken held some truth. A week later, Danielle stood in a Henderson cemetery, the sun setting, 60 degrees Fahrenheit, the air heavy with dust. Marissa's bones, recovered from the cave, rested in a simple urn beside a headstone. Marissa Voss, beloved sister, mother-to-be. Ethan, on crutches, stood beside her, his face gaunt but resolute. "I'm testifying," he said, voice raw. "Every name in that ledger, I owe her that." Danielle nodded, tears falling. "She forgave you, Ethan." "In my dreams, she did. But you gotta live with this. No more gambling, no more secrets." "Never again," he said, eyes on the urn. "I'll make it right, Danny. For her, for the baby." They stood in silence, the desert wind whispering through the graves. Lena's death, Chin's betrayal, the coins in the PT, all felt like a nightmare she couldn't wake from. The feds had raided Dominic's office, found ashes, but no trace of him. The ferryman or ferrymen were ghosts, their masks haunting her sleep. Back at her duplex, Danielle unpacked Marissa's journal, its pages worn from her touch. A photo slipped out Marissa and Ethan, laughing at a bakery, flour on their cheeks. She smiled, tears falling, and tucked it on her shelf. The nightmare was over, but the scars remained. Her phone buzzed, shattering the quiet. She hesitated, then checked it. A package sat on her porch, no label. Inside, a silver coin, etched with a D. Her blood froze. A note, typed, no signature. The pit never forgets. She ran outside, scanning the street, but it was empty, the desert swallowing the light. Somewhere, out there, Dominic was watching, and the ferryman was waiting.